Coming up on this episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover.
Well, my biggest piece of advice is to be as annoying as possible to coaches. During my time at the academy, it was bring up X, also Twitter, make a little profile about yourself, add film into it, and just send it.
Thanks for joining us for a very special episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. This is the first in a mini-series where we sit down and interview players who've graduated from the NFL Academy and have secured opportunities to play college football in the US at the NCAA Division I level. First up, we've got Francis, Florida State's own Luke Francis, an offensive lineman who started playing football in London, got his opportunity at the NFL Academy, took full advantage of it, went to the US, wowed schools, and secured himself a position at Florida State University. We talked with Luke about his journey, how he started in American football, what it takes and the commitment to thrive at the NFL Academy and go make an impression on those schools, and what early life has been like in Florida, in Tallahassee, for Luke so far. It's a fantastic interview. Luke's great. So please sit back and enjoy the next 45 minutes or so. Make sure you go give Luke all your support. Give him a follow. It'd be fantastic to see what he achieves in Tallahassee over the next couple of seasons for the Florida State Seminoles. So here we are, me and Luke, talking about his wonderful journey so far. Joining us for a very special episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Covered. We're honoured and privileged to have one of our own UK NFL Academy players who's at Florida State University, Luke Francis. Luke,
Yes,
thank you so much for joining us. First of all, are you ever going to get sick of hearing that? Like Luke Francis at Florida State University?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Second of all, man, I can never. It's a privilege to be here. It's something that I won't take for granted. It's an honor to actually carry the name of Florida State. To be honest, one of my dream schools was Florida State, so actually being here is quite surreal. Yeah, I'll never get tired of hearing it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think like prepping for this, like when we think of Florida State University and the players that they've produced, thinking again, doing the research, I think it's 40 odd, 46, I'm pretty sure we're out NFL first round picks from Florida State University. Prime, Deion Sanders, prime time, Jameis as a number 1 overall pick, Derwin James, Antonio Cromartie, who I believe his son is on the team, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy how time flies by. But so many of these great names, just how cool is it to be part of this historic and elite program?
Well, me personally, I'm taking it as quite a learning curve. Anything that I'm able to take in, I'll do so. There's a lot of people with knowledge in the team, whether it being coaches or just staff in general, knowing about the area of Tallahassee, knowing about the history of Florida State. I did do my research beforehand, but since coming here, I've learned a multitude of things, which it's really like, it's a dream come true in my opinion. Obviously, job's not finished, but this is a very good milestone that I feel like I'm on right now.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, you mentioned the job's not finished, not by a long shot as well. But like it's definitely cool to take stock, I think, isn't it? And give you've got to celebrate the successes, right? The achievements, because they are so hard to get. And you've worked so hard for so long to get to this point. I suppose let's start at the start. That makes sense, right? We're going to be telling your story a little bit here in this next 45 minutes or so. Yes, what was your first experience of American football, Luke? And what was it that got you interested into the sport in the first place?
Well, the story that I like to tell everyone is my secondary school coach, which I don't even know what grade that would be in high school, but my secondary school basketball coach told me, "You're too big to be playing basketball. There's a better sport that would fit your body type and fit the way how you are as a person." And he introduced me to American football, which I had no clue about. I had only heard of it in passing, obviously going through Instagram reels and just seeing highlights and whatnot. But he introduced me. I started playing for London Warriors after I sent my film, or just did some drills and sent that film to the NFL Academy. Went to do a tryout and I was accepted as initially a D lineman.
Things have changed, and we'll get into
Yeah.
that as we go. And again, NFL Academy, we spoke to, we were just talking before we start recording. We've had the pleasure and privilege of sitting down with a couple of the guys who are still at the NFL Academy, going to be, I've made moves. I think Enrique's been out in Germany. Barney's moving on as well, who we spoke to in the past as well. But I mean, how was that kind of for you? Again, this process, and the theme for you is kind of going away from home a little bit. That's the same, right? London to Loughborough might be a couple of hours, right? But still away from home. How was that kind of experience of just being at that kind of dedicated facility with the NFL Academy in Loughborough?
Well, initially for me, I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't really think I'll be going far within the sport. Within my first year of academy, you can ask anyone there, my coaches, teammates, that it didn't seem like I was fully developed, or I wasn't fully like in that mind space. I just thought of it as a cool little trip of, outside of my house. That I'm living away from home, gaining new independent skills. But the more the weeks rolled by, the more I realized that this is a serious sport. Like, there's a very, very big platform, or a very, very big opportunity that should be taken, not taken for granted. So the more days went by, the more I started to realize that, and then the more I started to put myself into it. I started to, obviously we had to do early morning, wake up 6 a.m. regardless, but make sure to do extra reps, make sure to do extra work when no one's seeing, make sure to stay on top of my schoolwork. Small things like that make, obviously, habits. And now that I'm at Florida State, I'm starting to see those habits transfer here as well, which I'm very, very thankful that I started that at 16, 17 when I was at the academy.
Was there a moment where you were at sort of Loughborough at the academy? Was there a moment where what was the moment where it just clicked for you that went, actually, there's a path here for me?
Well, for me personally, I don't know if you know, or you probably do, Daniel Akinkumi, offensive lineman at Oklahoma. Yeah. Um, we were having dinner as a team, and we were just talking, and Daniel told me something that was my switch, kind of challenging me to see where I can go. I asked him, generally, do you think I can make it? And he said, if you really wanted to, you would. Like, the way how Daniel got to Oklahoma, he always told himself, don't doubt yourself, just do it. Like, it's not that hard to just do it, and make sure to put 100% effort into it. So after he said those words to me, that's when I realized that, okay, this is very doable. It's not as hard as people may think, or it's not as complicated as people may think. All of it is just putting your 100% into it, making sure that you learn from your mistakes, because obviously everyone's going to make mistakes, but make sure to learn from your mistakes, move on, develop, and grow.
Yeah, we're working to get Daniel on as well, so you can do to help us, Luke.
Man, definitely.
But that's a great point around just throwing yourself into it and just having that 100% focus and drive. And if you want it bad enough, you will make it happen.
Yeah.
And here we are. And here we are, just down the line from being kind of 16, 17 to now being in Tallahassee. One of the things I wanted to ask around part of the NFL Academy is obviously the I suppose one of the big things of you guys being able to showcase your talents are the games that the NFL Academy play against kind of these prestigious programs and prestigious like high school programs.
Yeah.
We see IMG come over and De La Salle come over and play these games at usually at Spurs, right? There's a lot of those games that take place usually around the NFL London games. But what did you learn about your game? And doesn't necessarily have to be those particular fixtures, but in those kind of NFL Academy games against these programs, what did you learn about your game? And what did you learn about maybe the gap that there was between the UK Europe guys versus these players from these high school kind of stud programs?
Well, for me personally, I can't speak about some of my previous teammates, but for me personally, I just saw a knowledge gap, as in, despite them maybe not being as big as me or not being as strong as me, they thought faster. They knew what they were doing way quicker than I did. They had more knowledge of the game, and it definitely showed. If we went back to some of my first snaps playing football, especially against high school students, I was slow. I I was way lighter than I was now. But I was the way how I thought my thought process was way slower than everyone else's. So that's one thing that I saw was a big gap, and that I wanted to work on to be able to bridge that gap.
Yeah, and do we see that now again? You know, and you still in touch. I'm sure you still have plenty of great relationships with the guys. Is that something as the NFL Academy is growing, and you know, the longer it's been around, and we're seeing more coaches go there? Are we seeing that gap sort of, you know, lessen, and that the academy guys are kind of seeing the game better and understanding the game better, as well as their kind of physical and athletic traits?
Almost definitely. When I was at the academy for 2 years, 2023 to 2025, um, we just watched film. Like our coaches, Coach Dokal, who's sadly not there anymore, Coach Chase Baker, Coach Randy Starks. Coach Chase Baker and Coach Randy Starks, those two were the people that I looked up to. They guided me through basically everything, rewatching film over and over and over again, to the point where some guys are just, can we just go home? Can we just go back? I want to leave. Da, da, da. Like, they pushed us to a point where it only took a split second for us to realize any mistakes that was made, any faults, especially like, for example, at De La Salle, we realized something about the offensive lineman that we proceeded to use that helped us in the trenches to do better than most people thought. Um, but yeah, it's mostly just watching film, going over and over and over again, learning how to take notes, learning how to see the small things, such as body language, seeing if someone's tired, where their hands are. That can tell you if it's a run or a pass most of the time, from offensive lineman standpoint. There's a lot of things that you can see just through the small things. So the academy did a really good job of teaching us how to see those things, and what the most common faults are.
Yeah, and I feel like someone like Coach Baker, you know, Coach Baker there, she's obviously experience. I think he spent some time playing for the Vikings in the NFL. Like, he's
Yeah.
got that experience of that elite level and what it takes. So being able to kind of pass that on to you guys is like, how cool is that? That's awesome. And, you know, Coach Hagan there as well, same
Yeah.
thing, so experienced, and yeah, it is really cool, cool setup. And you've been through a transition, and we'll get into the detail a little bit more later, like flipping sides of the ball, which blow my mind. But again, how was learning the game on the D line? How was that kind of, you know, your early years playing the sport as a D lineman? How has that shaped you, and what traits have you been able to carry over? And now you're on the offensive line side of things.
Well, early days, when I was just learning, obviously, how to even just get into my stance, not even about plays or how to play games in the trenches, but just getting into my stance, knowing where to get my weight distribution, know where my hand placement should be. Funnily enough, a couple months ago, I rewatched some training videos from when I first started, and I compared them to now. And wow, was that difference? Like, my knees weren't bent, my knees were straight. Like, there was a lot of things that I feel like are misconceptions, especially amongst football players in the UK, or American football players in the UK. That I really wish I want to try and work on, setting up a camp or setting up a learning workshop back in the UK, because there's a lot of small details that I see a lot of UK players miss, and that I want to be able to teach just as Coach Baker taught us. So yeah, there's a lot of small things that just needed to be tweaked. And throughout the months as I continue playing, I just felt myself getting better, getting faster off the ball, becoming more agile despite being such a big guy. Like, there's a lot of small things there. And then to transfer that onto the offensive line, I can see myself play defensive line in people that I'm playing against, whether they're running games or they're doing switches, and I can see their body language, which hands down, let's say, for example, Man, get into football terminology.
So, well, it's so
Let's say, for
interesting, isn't it?
example,
That piece that you mentioned around that time you spent on the defensive playing defensive line, and now you flip that, being able to see the triggers and the things,
yeah,
so a lot you can expect and you can anticipate, and that helps you right in your position. Playing all lines tough, you go
yeah,
against huge fast guys,
yeah.
and being able to be that half a step ahead, right, is valuable.
Oh, most definitely. Any piece of knowledge on the field, I feel like, can give you an edge. You can have two of the greatest teams go up against each other, but the difference is knowing what your opponent's going to do. As a lot of the coaches that I've come across in America, especially, each and every one of those coaches have told me, football is chess. You always make a move, and you always have to think 5 moves ahead after you make that move. You always have to know what's going to happen before it even happens. Always tell the future. So the more I take that in, the more I realize, okay, these are some things I need to work on. I used to be in my playbook more, watching film more, just make sure that I obsess over it.
Yeah, and yes, great advice, and it's just then living that, breathing that to make it happen, right? And your journey again, is a great one, and to go from obviously NFL Academy to where you are now in Tallahassee, it is stuff that dreams made. It's like some of this, this is stuff like down the line, Luke, when
Yeah.
in 10 and 15 years time, whatever, people start making films of this kind of stuff, and this is a long way to go, right? But
Yeah.
this is the kind of story that does. And part of you getting to Florida State University is that going through that recruitment process. And we see a lot of the guys through what the NFL Academy share of going on the kind of these trips and these recruitment trips. You sort of brought in, or you've had a lot of interest from a lot of big schools. The biggest of big schools are interested in you, and you had more offers than just Florida State as well. Syracuse, Georgia State, maybe others as well. But talk us through kind of that process of your time spent with those schools and how that recruitment process works for an international player.
Well, my biggest piece of advice is to be as annoying as possible to coaches. Um, During my time at the academy, it was bring up X, also Twitter, make a little profile about yourself, add film into it, and just send it, send it, send it. Whenever you update film, send it again. Whenever you think of something else to add, send it again. Like, just annoy them to the point where they have remembered your name. Let's say, for example, when I came over to Florida State for my first unofficial visit, I had messaged the coaches a multitude of times. By the time I got there, they remembered my name, they remembered my face. So just small things like that. It sets you up for the perfect opportunity, I would say, and it's up to you whether you want to take that or not. So I would just say it's mostly just being as annoying as you possibly can to coaches, making sure that they remember you for the right reasons, making sure that your social media is clean, making sure that there's nothing that's slipped through the crack. Because I understand that we're young, we want to go out, have fun, so on and so forth, but there always needs to be that line that you never cross, or always need to make sure that you stay professional regardless of where you are. So yeah, I'll say those are the main things that I did throughout my recruitment, which helped quite a lot.
Yeah. And how was it for you kind of, and I don't know if you had the expectation when you were going to be like, well, I might be juggling kind of multiple offers. How was it for you kind of being wanted by all of these schools? And like I say, they're all huge schools. And, when we talk about the biggest of big college football programs, they were all kind of showing an interest in you. So how was it for you kind of juggling all of those, knowing you can only go to one?
Yeah. Well, for me personally, I had set a goal for myself. After the conversation with Daniel Kankumi, I did a bunch of research, making sure that I knew what college I wanted to go to. So I narrowed it down to Florida because it's the closest to home, just in case if I need to take a flight. It's one flight. And I also wanted to get accustomed to the heat because I know that that could be a very big problem, especially for us Brits. We don't get that heat. So that was another big thing. And it was obviously between Gators and Florida State. But I saw Florida State as being more of a historic school. We have history. We have a much a lot of alumni who have been through it and they come back to help. Like especially the other day, Jameis Winston just walked into the facility. I said hi to everyone, started speaking to people, educating people, like things like that. You can't get that anywhere else, in my opinion. You don't get the family setting that you get here, where everyone's connected. Everyone there's a pipeline that you're able to just call an alumni and say, "Hey, can I get help through this?" Or do you know about so on and so forth. Like it's things like that that I realized before that I really wanted to be a part of. So I basically made a checklist. Florida State checked all of those off, and in my mind, this is where I wanted to go. I didn't want to go anywhere else. So, with the interest from other schools, talking to other schools, it was never really going to be. It was never really going to be a difficult decision for me personally. But yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Like, see, to kind of pinpoint this is where you want to be and then make it happen, sort of see it,
yeah, so,
be it, and make it happen. And that's cool that the alumni, because we mentioned some of the names at the start of players that have come through, Florida State University, and yeah, big time players, big names, and that they're
yeah,
still kind of still involved and give back to the program, despite moving on and being big names in the NFL is really cool. A couple of names I want to talk about because they are very similar, I suppose, potentially to your journey. Bjorn Werner, who was drafted by the Colts in the first round, came through, obviously, from Germany, came through
yeah.
Florida State, and then ended up in the NFL. And one a little bit closer to home, Menelik
And
Watson,
like
of course,
Watson,
Manchester
yeah.
as well. Have you, obviously, naturally being the same position, but obviously O lineman, how much confidence does it give you, actually, there is a path for me to get to the next level? Florida State know
Yeah.
what they're doing with international players.
Yeah. Wow. Funnily enough, me and Coach Watson, we speak quite a lot. I see him more as a mentor. He educates me on the do's and don'ts. Obviously, being a professional athlete, there are certain things that you're not allowed to do, certain things that would be ill-advised. I ask him, he guides me in the right direction. He explains to me that Florida State is a great place for international students. They're very welcoming, especially the town of Tallahassee. I could name many stores that I've walked into. People look at you say, "Do you play football?" And I'll be like, "Yes." "Oh, I hear an accent. Where's the accent from?" That's the first thing that they notice. And I was always confused about that, but now I was like, "Oh, that's really nice." And everyone's so friendly. Like I said, it's a very home environment. So yeah, Menelik, Coach Watson, he made this transition so much easier. I feel so much more at ease here.
And how has it been like in obviously Tallahassee so far? Like Florida State is the main show in town, right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of different states and cities where obviously there are maybe more pro teams as well as the college teams, but in Tallahassee, Florida State is the show. Are you feeling that? Are you feeling that already in terms of kind of the interest and just how big the football team is in Tallahassee?
Almost definitely. I literally walk around and have someone ask if I play for the football team, and then the second I do, I say I do. Could I take a picture? How or where are you from? Or where are you coming from? How good are you? So on and so forth. Like that's the first thing people notice, in my opinion. Especially being a football player, people love what we do. Florida State, the football program makes it a point to give back. We have volunteering every Fridays. We're teaching the youth to play flag football. Right now, my team's undefeated because I'm such a good coach. But
Nice.
but it's like small things like that. I realize that Florida State embraces Tallahassee as much as possible, to the point where it sometimes feels intoxicating, the amount of charitable causes that Florida State does. So it's things like that that make me realize that yes, this is surreal. This is something that you only see in movies or you only dream about.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a sort of fishbowl situation with sort of Florida State, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
it's the biggest sports team in town, and there isn't, like I say, the pro teams around like other cities had. So yeah, it was interesting, kind of the intensity of it, and that's only going to ramp up right as we get to kind of August, September.
yeah,
It's February now. We're kind of as far away from football as you can be.
yeah,
So yeah, there's interesting that will ramp up, but again, must be so cool to be a part of, and you're going to absolutely love that journey through the season, no doubt. I want to ask you again. We've kind of said it already. So you flipped from the D line to the O line.
Yeah.
What was the moment where that's happened? So, from my understanding, that happened as part of your visit to Florida State. That during kind of the camp, there was a go, well, let's have a look at you from the other side. First of all, what was your thoughts when the coaches suggested that? And how did you handle that in that moment?
So prior to that flip, obviously going to camps for Georgia State, having offers as a D lineman at other schools, coming into Florida State, I was quite confident that yes, I'll be coming there as a D lineman. Went into the camp, personally didn't perform the best I could have or I should have, and I feel as though Coach Norvell saw something during that, which I'm a believer in Christ, so I always put that up to God. So that was God telling Coach Norvell, try this or try that, and you'll see. So he came up to me after, I think it was a D-line draw, and he said during one-on-ones, I want you to try being an offensive lineman. I looked at him confused for a second, but then in my head I was thinking, anything to get this up.
Yeah.
As long as I get to play on the field, I will do anything. If you want me to play DB, if you want me to play quarterback, I'll be in the film room. I'll lose the weight. I'll do whatever I need to do to just get on that field. So I told him, as long as I'm on the field, I'll do whatever is needed of me. So he asked me to switch. I switched, performed way better than I thought I would at offensive line. Thanks to some pointers from Coach Gav back at the academy as well, because he did say you never know, the opportunity might come where you need to play offensive lineman. So he taught me some skills in that basis, and I used that as much as possible, which then definitely helped because it gave me the offer to Florida State.
Yeah, it's just incredible, just like turnaround and in the moment. Yeah, it just when I read that as part of kind of your journey to signing, I was like, that's insane and crazy. But yeah, it's worked out. And was there a bit? Did you feel comfortable? Like, I know as you mentioned, kind of obviously you've done a bit of work with Coach Gav at the academy, but did it kind of feel natural and comfortable to start playing offensive line in the drills?
Funnily enough, it did. Well, at the beginning, I obviously had to get accustomed, but the more I repped out, the more I realized this feels like natural. This doesn't feel like I'm trying to force it, or obviously there's things that I need to learn because I've never played offensive line seriously before. So it was a learning curve, but it did feel natural. It didn't feel like I was stressing about it or my body was stressed about it. My body felt amazing during it and after it. So yeah, I would say it was a very smooth transition during the time.
Yeah. And yeah, like that can be, I imagine just completely kind of changing either side, but could just be like a complete spanner in the works and completely throwing. But clearly, you dealt with it really well and came through the other side of it because you were offered and you signed with Florida State University. Talk us through that moment when Florida State offered you. How did that feel? What was running through your mind? What were the emotions when the Florida State said, "Yeah, Luke, we want you to come"?
Well, for me personally, it was I was kind of starstruck. It was straight after the camp. I thought to myself, okay, I did the best, or I did as much as I could at the time. It wasn't the best that I could have done, which I still shoot myself in the foot. I shot myself in the foot, and I still think about it till this day. I'm just grateful that Coach Norvell saw that in me to be able to offer me. But at the time, I was thinking to myself, okay, it wasn't the best, but regardless, I'm gonna make something happen. Even if they don't offer me, I'm gonna make something happen. That's what my mom installed into me and my siblings. Always make something happen out of nothing. So that was my thought process after. But then Coach Norvell, Coach Oda Huygens, and Coach Hand walked up to me and just said, "We're gonna offer you." And during that time, I just looked at them like, "Wow, okay, thank you." Just gave the most not the most excited reaction, but like I said, I was starstruck. I didn't really know what was going on at the time, but then second I was driving home, my mother and the other people that were with us, I went ballistic. Like, this is my dream school. I got offered my dream school. I can't believe it, so on and so forth. And then a couple of weeks after, I'm going on an official visit, which that was in itself like a crazy experience.
Yeah, how has it been going to? I know recently, I think it was last year, or the year before Florida State, that revamped the
Mm.
stadium. How was it kind of attending, seeing the facilities,
Yeah,
kind of as part of that official visit?
it was man, it was amazing. I would say right now, obviously because of the renovations, the stadium wasn't renovated at that time, but still, the stadium was amazing. The people, the atmosphere, everything was crazy. I couldn't hear myself think. I couldn't. All I could hear was my heartbeat, and that's literally it. Like it was insane, and that's when I realized I want to play on. I want to play on that field. I want to play in the stadium. I want to play in front of all these people that actually poured all of themselves into this football program. And that game was crazy. And
Yeah,
right now we have newly built facilities, which was not here when I had my official visit. And when I tell you these facilities are some of the best in the country, we have everything you could possibly ask for: massage beds, hot tub, cold tub, steam room, top of the line medical staff, medical team, medical facility, top of the line gym, top of the line fields. We have literally everything you could possibly want.
and how has it kind of been now? You've been there for a little bit of time now. How has it kind of been, kind of learning around kind of like the Seminole culture
Mm.
and obviously the traditions and the nature of Florida? That's a huge, obviously, driving force. It's the identity of the school, the identity of the team. How has it been kind of learning and discovering about kind of that Seminole culture?
It's been a journey, in my opinion. Obviously, coming from the UK, we're all about tradition. You already know that. Our royal family is still in power. We still love the Queen's. Rest in peace. But obviously, being here, it feels quite the same. Like it's pure tradition. There's no like you said before. There's no NFL team here. All they have right now is the university and all the sports in university, and everyone pours into it like insane. Like this is pure tradition. Even learning about the Seminole tribe, we have a mandatory class that we have to learn about it. And I don't even feel like it's mandatory. I love being there. It's great to learn about where the tradition comes from and why it's so strong. It gives me more of a motive to actually fight for it and more of a motive to play for
Yeah, I think that moment when you first on the sideline for that,
it.
obviously the pre-game burning spear in the
Yeah.
midfield, I think is going to be a really cool moment for you.
Mhm.
We see it when we watch the games, and yeah, I went to Florida State, came to Dublin a couple of years ago to play
Oh yeah. Yeah.
against Georgia Tech, and yeah, just the fans just learning about Florida State a little bit more than I knew at the time was
Yeah.
incredible. So yeah, I think it's going to be just a truly amazing experience. But that first burning spirit midfield is awesome when you're on the sideline. Like,
Yeah. So
you've kind of been able to go through some lots of cool experiences so far, and we've touched on one of them. One I wanted to ask you about in a little bit more detail was the All American Bowl, the military All American Bowl. I think
yes, sir.
that you were part of. What did kind of being selected? So I suppose for a bit of context, that is a showcase, one of the kind of bowl games that happens at the very, I think it's January, right? Start of the year it happens.
More so like December.
December,
Just
yeah.
before Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like a bit of a showcase for 90, 80 to 100
Mm.
prospects that are going to be stepping into to the college game. So the best of the best, top, and there's a
Yeah.
couple of these bowl games. What did it mean to you, first of all, to be invited and be selected? And how was it spending time around other top prospects? How did that kind of help shape your game?
For me, all right. So at the selection process, that was a shock to me personally. I was selected by Coach Tony Charles. He came to me, I'd like to say it's 2 years ago now, and he told me that I'm gonna select you in a couple of years, so be ready. And I didn't believe him at first, but as time went on and I started to develop myself, he then came back to me and said, "Okay, your time's here. Let's go." And so when he invited me, that was quite an amazing moment for me. I enjoyed it so much. The time that was spent there, only with it only being a couple days, those couple days felt like months. Like having to learn plays in a couple days to then perform in front of thousands, especially online. The people there is the saying of a big fish from a small pond finally going to a big pond. Like that's exactly how it felt. Everyone was on the same playing fields. Everyone had the same body type. People going to SEC schools, Big Ten schools, ACC schools, Big 12 schools. People from going to everywhere. Like that's the talent pool that you wish and you dream about being able to compete in and actually being able to perform well. Which I would personally say I did. I did make some hiccups, obviously, just learning the offensive line position, and also not having a lot of time to study the playbook. But still, I enjoyed it. So I made sure to make the most of it as much as possible, which I do feel as though I did.
Yeah, that's just such a cool opportunity and one you've earned as well, and yeah, to kind of absorb that from the coaching staff and going against other players, like I say, with the same level, like I say, just again, those reps, man, make a big difference. And a couple of other things as well, again, cool. So I remember you sent us a video, I think maybe 18 months or so ago, an interview that you've done where you, I believe it still stands as right, were the first, still are, the first UK player to sign an NIL deal in American football with, I think it was a wellness company. And I don't know if you're still working with those.
All right, so with that, it's the first high school international student to have signed with signed an NIL deal, and it was with a tea company, funnily enough, who obviously wanted to jump on the stereotype, which, to be honest, I enjoyed because the team was nice. Yeah. But I've never said no to free tea, in my opinion. But that was a great experience. Yeah, that was an amazing experience. It taught me a lot about business. Taught me a lot about how characters can clash and what to not look at and what to look at. I would say that's probably one of the best things that could have happened to me at that time because it prepared me for obviously the whole world of NIL and the whole world of a rev share and colleges paying players and what that entails, how to read contracts and making sure that I don't oversee things because I'm a big reader. I enjoy reading, being able to look at my own contracts and making sure this doesn't seem right, this seems right. I want this changed. I'm not going to sign this until I get this changed because it just makes the most sense. Yeah, that the whole NIL deal, it really taught me a lot about just a lot of things to do with business.
Yeah, and that's real to kind of go through that experience and have it as a learning experience is really cool. Inevitably, I think as more and more of the NFL Academy guys progress, and they're going to start obviously going to schools similar to yours, I think, and these big schools. There's a lot of guys. We've got a couple are going to be. I think we've got one of the guys. Bruce going to be at Boston College. We've got Luca's going to be at Tennessee. All these big schools, they're going to be navigating this kind of NIL journey like you are, having a bit of experience in it now. What would you kind of advise other international players navigating the NIL world for the first time?
Yeah. My biggest piece of advice, man, there's a lot of things. My biggest piece of advice would be to be patient. Don't feel as though you're being rushed. Don't feel as though if you don't do things that people are trying to tell you that you're going to lose the opportunity. Because you're chosen for a reason. You're chosen for your talent. You're chosen for what you're able to bring to the program. It's a fair trade. You're giving your body type. You're giving your vast knowledge. You're giving your amazing learning capabilities to a school, whilst they are giving you knowledge, connections, just a lot of different things. There's always going to be a fair trade. So never actually feeling as though you're being rushed or feeling as though you have to do this or you have to do that. Take your time, learn along the way. You're going to make mistakes, but make sure to learn from it and don't do the same mistake twice. That's probably the best piece of advice I can give.
Nice. And yeah, it's such a different world now, the college football landscape with NIL, the transfer portal we hear about a lot. That's such a big thing and affects opportunities, I think, as well as it can happen. So there's a lot for you guys. It's not as simple as it once was. And you're in a world now of college football where, not that it ever was simple, but you're in a world of college football now where there's just so many more moving parts than there were before. So yeah. Some sound advice, Luke. Cool. Hopefully, guys will take it and work by your example. And given your, again, still relatively early in your American football career, right? Just a few years in, there's a long way, hopefully a very, very long way to go. What does, because again, when you players join a big school, it's not necessarily a case of you join and you start playing. There's a path to playing as well, right? I think that guys or people, maybe spectators and viewers, don't see the work that has to go for you to get on the actual field to play. Yeah. What does success look like for you in your first couple of years at Florida State, Luke?
Ooh.
We ask the tough questions here as well.
Yeah, it is, because there's a lot that goes into it, but I would say the feeling of being uncomfortable should be a pleasing feeling. That's probably one of my teammates that I'm still in contact with, Silas. He's the one that told me that the feeling of being uncomfortable should become a comfortable feeling.
Yeah. And
I try to tell myself that every day. I wake up 6 a.m., 5:40, 5:30 a.m. wake ups. You don't get home to even eat or shower until 12. So 5 to 6 hours of just work. Obviously, you go in, have breakfast. After that, train, film, meetings, extra training, extra gym. Then you go home. Then you have lessons. After lessons, come back to the facility. If you actually want to be great, you do extra work because you want to obviously get that one step ahead of everyone else. So just being able to do the things that normal people don't want to do. Being able to do the things that basically everyone else doesn't want to do. Like, make sure that you're on top of your schoolwork. If you submit it late, you're in big trouble. Trust me, I've learned that the hard way. But having to adapt quick, because it's okay to make mistakes, but like I said before, never making the same mistake twice, because that shows that you're not actually willing to put in the work, or you're not actually willing to get that one step ahead, or you're not willing to be able to push yourself further than anyone else can. So the feeling of making sure that the feeling of being uncomfortable becomes comfortable.
Yeah, that's a great a great mindset and a great example to set. I think, Luke, for other guys, being willing to do the things that others aren't. Like, I'm willing to go further than anybody else is willing to go to achieve what I need to achieve, which is, I think, cool. And you're clearly obviously putting in the work to make that happen. I suppose on that, and that's probably a lot of that advice and mindset is probably the answer to my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. For anybody in the UK, people in the UK and Europe who may be considering playing American football at the collegiate level, what would you tell them about the commitment that's required to get there?
Man, it is not like how your life would be before. That's probably the biggest thing I can say, because coming from South London, Croydon, to now being thousands of miles away in Tallahassee in the United States, it's so different. It's not the same. The best comparison I can say is the way how people speak. Like, coming from obviously the UK, we have UK slang. You're around your friends, you speak how you usually speak. And then come to the US, you speak how you usually speak, and everyone's, huh? What did you say? What does that mean? I've heard that. I can't. It's been countless times where I've heard that. I can't hear what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying. What does this mean? What does that mean? That's the best comparison to how it is trying to get to that collegiate level. It's a completely different ball game that you have to be prepared to adapt to.
Yeah, and it just feels like that step, showing that it's possible as well, like with the right attitude, the right mindset, the right support as well, of course. But actually, it can, and we're seeing guys go through the IPP program and making it, and we've seen kind of the specialists like the kickers, punters making noise. Charlie Smith was the big story for the Saints. We've got Dan Whelan for the Packers. Those Irish kickers and Irish specialists are making a lot of noise. But it's not just limited to the specialist positions, clearly, and you're kind of an example of that. And we'll see if those academy guys make that, set those examples as well. I think it's huge for us if they can see someone like you, Luke, playing in kind of key positions, not just the kicking positions that we know we're good at. Playing in those other positions, I think, is huge, and to see you be successful at such a big university, I think will help move that forward. We talked a little bit about mistakes and making sure you don't make the same mistake twice and learning from that. Again, in your time playing the sport and being involved in American football, what's one mistake during your time that you've learned the most from?
I would say that is a good question. There's a lot of answers to that, but my main learning point would be don't overlook things. As in, don't overlook things, because there's been many times during film sessions where, let's say for example in Tallahassee, that was probably one of my best games as a defensive lineman. There was a lot of things that I overlooked coming into the game. But talking to Coach Chase, I learned a lot of things, a lot of key points that I just thought, okay, maybe they weren't feeling it, or maybe this wasn't a big deal, or maybe everything everything means something. Everything could give you an edge. There's 101 different things in the film sessions that can just show you something. So I would say don't overlook the small things, because that's the most important thing within football.
Yeah, excellent. Great. I love a sound bit of advice as well. And again, just that willingness to learn. And I think you said it's okay to make mistakes. Absolutely, that's how you learn and grow, right? The most. Yeah. And it's helped you on your journey, which is really cool. Luke, it's been an absolute pleasure to sit down and talk about your journey. And I know we could have sat here for hours because there's so many bits to explore, but you're a busy man. You've got a lot of work to do at Florida State. But we're going to finish off, if that's okay, with just a few quick fire questions, if that's okay, to end on a nice light note. So whether it's been playing on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball, who's given you your toughest rep?
What, as like an actual person?
Yeah. Who's been like the toughest person you've had to go against?
There's one obvious answer, which I hate to say because both of us are very competitive, but he's at UMass now. Samu, he was our offensive lineman at the academy. He's probably one of the most difficult opponents I've ever had to go up against, which I hate to say, but it's true. He was one of the best offensive linemen to come out of the academy, in my opinion. Oh yeah,
it's cool. You got to give him his flowers. It's okay. That's cool. Shout out. What is your favorite post-practice / post-training meal?
Ooh, I would say scrambled eggs. I don't know why. It's the Mr. All Reliable, in my opinion. Scrambled eggs.
Yeah, a good staple. Yeah, absolutely. And look, you've been away from home for a little bit of time now as well. We've mentioned you've been away for a little while now. What's the food from home that you're missing the most?
Custard creams. That's the plain answer. Custard cream. I wish they had it in America. If they did, you'd probably see a whole wall of them in my background. Honestly, if I could get my hands on some custard creams right now, I'd be very happy.
So, like, if there's some way we can like do some sort of NIL deal with like McVitie's or somebody like that, that's one that you definitely like be interested in, like some sort of biscuit manufacturer would be a great NIL partner for you, Luke.
Yeah. Send me a couple boxes, and I promise you, I'll be the most I'll be your most loyal customer. I'll make posts about it every day. Trust me.
All right, we'll see what we can do to happen for you, Luke. But yeah, that's got anybody listening. Anybody got any links or connections with any of the biscuit companies? Send them Luke's way. And again, we've talked again. You've split the time both sides of the ball. Who's the player that kind of you, whether that's in college, at your team now, or through the academy, or in the NFL? Who's a player that you look up to the most?
I would have to say there's 3 players actually. For offensive line, Menelik Watson. He's like, I was doing my research at Florida State and then realizing that I had to switch. He's the first person I turned towards. The way how he was able to learn from basketball to football, and the way how he was obsessed with it, I'm trying to replicate it as best as I can, and I'm still learning how to do that. And on the defensive side of the ball, has to be Coach Randy Starks, who's not I'm sure it was Temp. That was I forgot what the name of the school was. Maryland's. He's at
Yeah,
Maryland's
very
right now.
Terrapins. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Coach Chase, he's also a big figure that I used to always look at film with and look at film of.
Yeah, nice. Some great like role models and great like mentors there.
Yes.
Awesome stuff. What is some kind of what do you listen to, whether that's like pre-game or pre-practice, to kind of get you in the zone? What music you listen to get yourself pumped and ready for a big game?
Well, it's most of the time either Kendrick or Kendrick as an American artist, but UK artist, Unknown T and J Hus probably. Those are the main ones, yeah.
Nice, good stuff. Got to get you primed and ready
Yes,
to
sir.
play at the biggest level. And again, we talked about you've been in Florida for a little bit of time now as well. And this we might have to cut this out, but hopefully we can keep it in. What is the most kind of, we hear that phrase like Florida man. What is the most Florida man thing you've seen or experienced so far?
That's a very good question. I've seen somebody do donuts in the middle of an intersection, shirtless but with a bunch of gold chains. That's probably the most Floridian thing I've ever seen, in my opinion.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm sure that's going to be tops in your time that you're there, Luke. But
most definitely.
it's a strong start. Luke, thank you ever so much for giving up some of your time. We know you are busy working hard and making the dream happen. We wish you the best of luck. We can't wait to see what you do in Tallahassee. We can't wait to see you ball out. Thank you ever so much for coming on and telling your story and giving us some of your time here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. And we really, really do appreciate it. Luke, where can we follow you? So we follow you on social media, but if anybody wants to kind of follow your journey, social media is a big part of your game. You share a lot. Where can people follow you? Where can people find you, as well as on the field in Tallahassee?
Yeah. Well, right now, I'm in works with somebody to make sure to get as much content as possible. We're recording a bunch and make sure to store it so that we have a multitude of videos. On Instagram, it's LF_JNR, obviously because I'm a junior. Luke Francis, self-explanatory. On TikTok, it is just my full name. It should just be Luke Francis Jr. And those are the main two platforms that you'll see me on. And you'll see announcements on there on me branching out to YouTube as well, just for advice videos and such, because I know that a lot of people have asked me questions that I feel as though need to be told or need to be answered. So that's probably where you'll be able to find me.
Awesome. Make sure everyone you go follow Luke across all his channels to watch his journey unfold. Get the behind the scenes stuff, which is really cool, as well as the on the field stuff. Luke, again, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks ever so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.